Hello and welcome. I'm Sima Katauka and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he will send the United States an updated plan for Ukraine. He has said that he wants to discuss Ukraine's restoration as part of the peace plan preparations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the country could hold elections within 60 to 90 days if the US and Europe provide security guarantees for Ukraine. He has further added that Kyiv would move to change the law once those guarantees are secured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine currently has no chance of joining NATO, as the United States and the several other countries do not yet see it as ready. He has stressed that Russia would never accept Ukraine's NATO membership as well. US President Donald Trump has said that consumer prices in the United States are coming down tremendously, has criticized Democrats, calling their concerns over the cost of living a political hoax. Chinese Defense Ministry cites annual joint strategic patrol with Russia hours after South Korea says aircraft did not violate its airspace. He further stated that China and Russia had carried out their 10th joint strategic patrol in the airspace above the East China Sea and Western Pacific. Syrian Emergency Minister Raed al-Saleh and UNFPA representative in Syria Ahmed has held talks on boosting cooperation in emergency response, including updating Syria's national risk assessment matrix. Both sides have stressed stronger coordination, greater women's participation in response teams as well. Cambodian Information Minister Net Petra has stated that about 54,550 Cambodian residents have fled their homes for safe shelters, as border conflict with Thailand has entered a third day, while Cambodian Defense Ministry's spokesperson has said that 7 Cambodian civilians were killed in the conflict. According to reports, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have entered the key eastern DRC city of Uvira, prompting security concerns. More than 30,000 people have fled to Burundi as the group calls for a buffer zone. Now for this hour, we start with US President Donald Trump has stated that he will be holding a phone call with the leaders of Cambodia and Thailand, aiming to halt escalating clashes along their shared border. He has also told supporters he intends to open a dialogue to stop the war after renewed fighting undermined a ceasefire he brokered in July. Along the volatile frontier, Thai troops have stepped up patrols along the frontier as cross-border fighting enters its third day. Soldiers are monitoring for possible Cambodian drone activity amid continued artillery exchanges that began on December 7th. In Cambodia's Samarong town, streets are deserted as residents flee intensified shelling from Thai forces. Thousands have already left, and families like that of Tan Nan are evacuating without clear destinations, and as the conflict shows no sign of easing. US President Donald Trump has said that he will be holding a phone call with the leaders of Cambodia and Thailand, aiming to halt escalating clashes along their shared border. He has told supporters that he intends to open dialogue to stop the war after renewed fighting undermined a ceasefire he has brokered in July along the volatile frontier. Thai troops have stepped up patrols along the frontier as cross-border fighting enters its third day. Soldiers are monitoring for possible Cambodian drone activity amid continued artillery exchanges that began on December 7th. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Collins Chong-Yu-Keith. He's a Foreign Affairs Security and Strategy Analyst, joins us live from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. Now, looking at this, thank you for joining again. Now, looking at this, it seems like U.S. has brokered ceasefire in many places across the globe this year, but none of them seems to be holding up, including Rwanda, DRC, and then including a Gaza ceasefire, and then this one again between Thailand and Cambodia. Do you think there is a lack of maybe groundwork or ground analysis by U.S. in terms of what they actually need to do to solve these crises on the ground, including now looking at Thai and Cambodia?
No, we have seen how delicate the situation has always been, especially in the conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. It's historical, it's hundreds, maybe thousands of years of history. So Trump is right in pointing out that there's no pertinent, serious, sustained efforts from other parties, including from the United Nations, to actually provide strong measures or direct measures to end, or at least to to deter this conflict, or to give this pressure to both sides to prevent escalation. So only Trump has the persona, has the power, has the pressure and the capacity to provide these indicators, these factors to push both sides to come to the negotiating table. So we have seen how this is the classic Trump diplomacy in its purest form: direct, forceful, aimed at stopping escalation before it hardens into full-blown war. And before Trump, we have seen there's no sustained efforts, and it's all being confined to conventional norms of this normal ways and approaches of giving this pressure to both sides. So it hasn't worked so far, and this conflict has been complicated, and that Trump has been effective in terms of providing this early stage intervention, of course also with the support of Malaysia as the ASEAN chair, and again now with this phone call, I foresee that it can be again managed through the sheer might of the Washington's economic might for both sides, as well as also the realization of both nations that the future really belongs to the need for both countries to depend on the US in terms of security, geopolitical, technology, and economic returns to both sides. And of course, also we have seen how the direct approach and the classic Trump approach has also been the foremost factor in this regard. So I will argue that only Trump can do this, and previous approaches have failed so far.
Right, and now, thank you for sharing that. And Professor, now, last time when this conflict or the escalation occurred between these two countries, we didn't see much coming out of ASEAN countries. Do you expect any mediation efforts from the ASEAN countries or other regions nearby in this Southeast Asia?
Well, as I've stated, ASEAN simply lacks the capacity to provide this, the pressure and the factor for both sides to come to the negotiating table. And of course, ASEAN doesn't have the economic power, the economic influence, the needed threshold of economic pressure, and of course also it doesn't have the geopolitical and hard power capacity as well. Also being confined, being limited by its own normative structure of non-interference, and in terms of respecting other members' internal affairs. And Malaysia, as the ASEAN chair, has been also playing a pivotal role in this, complementing Trump's efforts. But I don't foresee any other future role or support by any other ASEAN members in this regard, because all of them realize the complexity of this case, and all of them do not want to be trapped or to be entangled further with the potential repercussions from this fallout. And as of now, the only credible factor in play will be the role of Malaysia, as well as the role of Trump himself, in ensuring that this doesn't trigger a full-blown war. But we have seen the risk of that now being close to that, how the drone warfare now, and of course also the accusations by both sides in what or who really started the latest flare, and only Trump can and of course also with the support of Malaysia now as the current mediator to ensure that both sides still are aligned with these norms of refraining from further miscalculations and or accidental strikes or this risk of rapid escalation.
Thank you very much, Professor Collins, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving the focus on to South America, according to reports, Brazil's lower house has approved a bill that could dramatically reduce former President Jair Bolsonaro's prison term from 27 years to just over 2 years. The measure will now move to the Senate for consideration. Bolsonaro began serving a 27-year sentence last month for orchestrating an unsuccessful coup attempt against current President Lula da Silva following the 2022 election. He is now currently held at the Federal Police Superintendency in Brasilia. Bolsonaro's defense team has filed a request for him to be transferred from jail to a hospital for surgical procedures. His lawyers have also reiterated their appeal for humanitarian house arrest, arguing that his health conditions warrant more suitable detention arrangements. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Professor Collins Chong-Yu-Keith. He's a Foreign Affairs, Security and Strategy Analyst, joins us live from Malaysia. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Okay. Now, looking at South America, this news coming in from there, what implication does Bolsonaro's request for humanitarian house arrest have for the balance between legal accountability and political pressure? And do you see this, have you ever seen such case in any other country?
Well, it's a clear signal of, a major political rehabilitation attempt. And of course also the popularity of the right-wing movement led by Bolsonaro. And it's a clear political comeback strategy. It's not just a legal adjustment. Also, it reflects a deep polarization taking place in Brazil, where legal institutions and political forces are now openly contesting each other's jurisdiction and authority. So, of course, supporters frame it as a needed correction in terms of judicial access, while critics will see it as yet another attempt by elite political protection, depending on which aisle you are on or which side that you are on. But at the international front, this also weakens Brazil's image as a stable, rules-based democracy at the time of greater sensitive global moment. But this could re-energize, these right-wing populist sentiments and movements across Latin America, not just being confined to Brazil. But this is not just about Bolsonaro's sentence; it's more about the future balance between the court system, the judicial system, and politics in Brazil, and whether the need for the future of Brazil now the need for structural reform, but also at the time where this political rivalry and political polarization has been extensive, and that the big picture connection will be, of course, also to gauge the future successful return of Bolsonaro, and how it will also create this impact on Brazil and the relations with Washington, especially with Trump, and that also the potential responses by da Silva in terms of how this will empower greater efforts to reform, to have greater reforms on the political side of things, and as well as the legality of the judicial reforms taking place now in Brazil. So it comes at the delicate moment, and it remains to be seen the efficacy of this move. But one thing is to be sure will be for there's a revival of this new opening for Bolsonaro to have at least a new hope, and for him and his supporters and his movement to regain some footings, and it remains to be seen how this will turn out and the wider political movement in Brazil.
Yes, we will be eyeing that over here. With that, I would like to thank Professor Collins Chong-Yu-Keith for joining us today from Malaysia and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. Amazon has announced plans to invest more than $35 billion in India by 2030, reinforcing the country's position as a global hub for artificial intelligence, cloud computing, as well as digital commerce. The investment will focus on expanding AI capabilities, boosting exports, strengthening logistics infrastructure, and supporting small businesses as competition intensifies in India's fast-growing retail and tech markets. The latest commitment builds on Amazon's $40 billion investment since 2010, including a $26 billion push announced back in 2023. India remains a critical market for the U.S. e-commerce giant, driven by a rapidly expanding internet user base and rising demand for digital services. Amazon has said that the investment will help create 1 million additional jobs by 2030 and increase cumulative exports by Indian sellers from $20 billion to $80 billion over the next decade. The announcement comes as major U.S. tech firms ramp up spending in India. Microsoft has committed $17.5 billion in AI and cloud infrastructure, while Google plans $15 billion in AI data centers, underlining India's rise as a strategic technology and innovation hub. Now for this discussion, we welcome Ms. Joyita Basu. She's an editor at the Sunday Guardian and joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ms. Joyita, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, how significant is this Amazon's multi-billion-dollar investment in India until 2030, and how might this reshape India's digital economy?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling me for this show. Well, of course, it's highly significant. And you see, the very fact, but more importantly, why India? Why is Amazon not suddenly, is investing so much money in India? And especially at a time when you can see the kind of nonsense that is being spewed by a section of the US population, especially the followers of Donald Trump, about how India should be, and the kind of bad treatment that Donald Trump has given India. The very fact that in spite of all that negativity coming from the US, the very fact that Amazon is investing so much in India shows the potential that India has, shows that Amazon has recognized. You see, these are hardcore business people, Jeff Bezos and all. They are hardcore business people. They are not going to invest money unless and until they see returns. And obviously, they are seeing returns. They expect, or they want to make India into a major AI hub in this case. So and they're very serious about these areas. So for that, I think India is among the top choices when it comes to basing their expertise, basing their people, basing their technology. And India is right on among the top countries. Democracy, it has the capacity to absorb. You see, India has a huge landmass. India is not like such tiny places like Taiwan and all. So what happens, one of the reasons why Taiwan has so many factories in China is because, and one of the reasons why Taiwan helped China as economy boom, because Taiwan is a very tiny country. So when you're looking at East Asia in particular, and the ASEAN countries, all of them have a lot of talent, have a lot of expertise. But what happens that when it comes to land area and number of people, their capacity to absorb anything big is very limited. And this is where India comes in. Number one, with its huge population, a large percentage of which speaks English reasonably fluently, although with an accent, Indian accent, but the thing is that they speak fluent English. It's a democracy. So, and it has the right kind of conditions. So it makes a lot of sense for big companies to invest in India. And that is what exactly, and if you're looking at it also towards the future, it is this part of the world that holds the key to AI. China is already risen to a large extent. When you're looking at chip making and all, Taiwan is very advanced. So obviously it is but natural that India will be there among the top tier countries, and Amazon will select India as an investment destination.
And lastly, Ms. Joyita, What political and regulatory challenges could arise as India becomes an increasingly critical AI hub?
Well, political challenges, obviously, the biggest challenge is coming from, apart from the fact is, of course, China is a problem. But apart from that, the biggest problem is now proving to be the US under Trump in particular. I mean, we see if you go to X for that matter, and even otherwise, there's constant carping about India. Look at how Trump has made H-1B visas difficult for Indians. They're coming back to India. They have to wait for, I think, 4 months to be able to go back to the US and, vetting this, that, whole lot of things. And Trump's base is so anti-India. And the kind of lies that are being spewed about India. The minute this got announced that Amazon is going to invest this much money and also Microsoft, you should see the kind of venom that is coming from Trump's people. So automatically, I'm certain Mr. Trump will try to stop this from happening. So yes, that's a huge challenge.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Ms. Basu for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on, Paramount Global is privately considering its next move regarding its unsolicited bid for Warner Brothers. According to reports, WBD is weighing whether to increase its current $30 per share offer or add sweeteners to make the deal more attractive to WBD's board and shareholders. This deliberation comes after Paramount, led by David Ellison's Skydance, launched an all-cash hostile tender offer for WBD on December 8th, valued at approximately $108.4 billion, including debt. The move was a direct response to Warner Brothers entering exclusive talks with Netflix for a rival deal, valued at about $72 billion in equity. Meanwhile, David Ellison is also actively lobbying Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders to reject the Netflix acquisition bid and instead consider his company's rival hostile takeover offer. On the other hand, Netflix will also meet with WBD shareholders this week in order to persuade them. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Ms. Joyita Basu. She's an editor at The Sunday Guardian, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ms. Basu, for joining us. And again, now looking at this, how exciting or how dangerous could this multi-dollar Paramount billion-dollar
Well, actually, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. The thing is, you see, there are weeds within weeds in this particular deal. To think that it's only about the control of Warner Brothers, it would be wrong. Because you see, Netflix, fine, had a bit. Now then Paramount, in spite of not having that kind of backing, tried to take over. Now, who are among this may sound a bit like a conspiracy theory, but it is being talked about by everybody. And even reputed newspapers and Western media organizations are talking about it. Who is one of the financial backers of Paramount? Now, Jared Kushner. So apart from that, you see one of the ways, so this particular deal, although Trump is right now trying to stay neutral, but the fact of the matter is that this particular Ellison guy has apparently promised Trump that if Paramount gets Warner Brothers, one of the first things that they will do, they will recast CNN. CNN is part of the Warner Brothers network, Warner Brothers Media Network. And it seems, and we all know the kind of hatred Trump has for CNN. He calls it fake news media. He wants CNN to become another Fox News, or perhaps even something worse, and so that it will be falling at his feet and not look at him or question him at all. So you see, this particular deal, it's not just about movies. It is not just about the content creation for TV and for big screen and small screen. There's much more politics also involved in this, or at least the owner of Paramount tried to make it political according to Wall Street Journal, again I'm going to say Wall Street Journal piece is talking about it, where he has promised Trump that he is going to overhaul CNN if Warner Brothers he can get control of Warner Brothers. So you see, the whole point is that while in an ideal situation, in a capitalist situation, the state should not be getting involved in a private company trying to acquire another private company. But there is a possibility that Trump will be throwing in his weight behind Paramount, because number one, his son-in-law is obviously involved in this. And apart from the fact, there is that carrot that he has been given about CNN is going to be quote unquote killed, and a very pliant Fox News type channel CNN will be made into. So you see, these are the things that is going on in this particular case.
That is so interesting and very insightful indeed. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Ita Basu for joining us today as the editor from Sunday Guardian and from New Delhi. Thank you very much. Now we move the focus on to Africa. At least 19 people were killed and 16 injured after two 4-story residential buildings collapsed in Morocco's historic city of Fez. Local media has said that the dead included children, raising fears the toll could climb further. The two adjacent buildings, home to 8 families, collapsed overnight in the Al Mustaqbal neighborhood of the Al Masira area. Police and civil protection teams rushed to the site while emergency crews continued searching for rubble for possible survivors. The injured were taken to Fez's University Hospital Center. Authorities have said that preventative safety measures were taken, including cordoning off the area and evacuating neighboring buildings. Officials warned that casualty figures could rise as rescue operations continue. Structural collapses are not uncommon in parts of Morocco. In February last year, 5 people died when a house collapsed in Fez's old city. In 2016, 2 deadly collapses occurred within a week, including one in Marrakesh that killed 2 children, and another 4-story building collapse that left 4 people dead and dozens injured. In 2023, the Moroccan government identified more than 12,000 vulnerable buildings in Marrakesh and surrounding regions. Some officials have suggested that strong earthquakes that year may have weakened many older structures, adding to long-standing concerns over building safety in historic urban areas. Now we move the focus on to Oceania. Australia has become the first country to ban social media for children under the age of 16, blocking access in a move welcomed by many parents and child advocates, but criticized by major technology companies and free speech advocates. The Australian government has ordered 10 of the largest social media platforms, including TikTok, Alphabet's YouTube, and Meta's Instagram and Facebook, to block children under the age of 16 by midnight or 13 GMT, or face fines of up to $33 million under the new law, which is being closely watched by regulators worldwide. Meanwhile, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called a proud day for families and cast the new law as a proof that policymakers can curb online harms that have outpaced traditional safeguards. Let's listen into what Prime Minister Albanese has shared.
Australians who've lost a son or a daughter, Australians who have seen the direct impact of social media causing social harm for their families, for their communities. People who have had the courage to take what is a personal tragedy and turn that into a commitment and determination that others who will follow will not go through the traumatic experience.
However, an expert has stated that kids are definitely going to try work around it, as Australia has banned social media for children under the age of 16. Let's listen into what the experts have shared.
So if you have an increasingly fractured social media landscape where there's a lot of friction in trying to get on there and talk with each other, then the alternatives, which are the kind of in-person, physical, non-algorithm mediated social arenas that the government is trying to encourage, those become more attractive. So even if it isn't effective to the degree that people would be impressed by the numbers, if you create enough friction, you still have a chance.
That's all we have time for. Keep watching News 6 World for more news updates from around the world.